Renee, I'm going to start with you. Do you like, love, or hate LeBron's rebuttal to Zlatan?
I like it. I don't love it. And the reason why I don't love it is that I thought LeBron should have went at him harder. I love the fact that LeBron pointed out his hypocrisy, how this was the same guy who did speak about his name and racist connotations that came along with it, and how he was being prejudiced against in the past. But yet when it came to LeBron James and others, he's speaking about how, folks need to speak to sports. I think that what he would say, he should have been more specific. He was basically trying to say the black athlete should stick to sports. That's how I took it. And essentially, what are you meaning by that? Because you have a lot of people in this world who look at black men and believe, instead of showing them the deference and respect that they've earned and they deserve and giving them major props for that, as opposed to doing that, they feel like these athletes should be appreciative and should never feel entitled because of what they've earned. And so you do have a lot of folks out in this world that look at black men who are particularly influential and incredibly powerful, and they feel they should stay in a certain place. They should be more appreciative as opposed to feeling deserving and things of that nature. And I think this shows that, the kind of prejudice that we're accustomed to experiencing as black men, it doesn't just exist in America. I've had the fortune of, particularly with Stephen A's world, of interviewing several people on my show from different other parts of this world, and they talk about how the black experience itself is the black experience. It ain't just in America. It's the world over. And so to me, this is the latest example of that. And I loved how LeBron came back and responded, but I also thought that LeBron was very classy and far too nice compared to what he could have been by an individual that was basically not only telling him to just shut up and play basketball, but he was also an individual that was telling him, you shouldn't be the one doing it, but evidently I could, because when I had an issue, I certainly brought it up, and it didn't have anything to do with the field of play. So it's okay for me to speak on things, but you should know your place. That's how I took it. I think that's how LeBron James took it. And LeBron handled it with the deference, the class, the decorum that obviously nobody can argue with. I'm just saying, if it were me, I'd have been a hell of a lot harsher.
I love LeBron James's response. You like it, Stephen A., because you think he could have gone harder at Zlatan? I love LeBron's response precisely because he didn't. Because I look, Zlatan's entitled to his opinion, even if we think it's wrong-headed. Now, Stephen A., if you read into it and say, what are you really saying? I get it. But actually, LeBron's measured response, just stating the facts, I think was the most effective possible response. And look what he said. It's on the bottom of the screen. There's no way I would ever just stick to sports. The operative word is because I understand this platform and how powerful my voice is. In other words, if you want to talk about a moral responsibility, if you are a member of an oppressed group historically, then LeBron feels it. That's great. That's great that he responded the way he did. He is not making ad hominem attacks at Zlatan, although he points out, hey, look, you were saying kind of similar stuff where you're from, right? Like you were saying, hey, my last name, whatever else, led to behavior toward me that I didn't like. And what's curious, by the way, LeBron could have gone on. I've heard interviews where, one interview in particular, where Zlatan was asked about Muhammad Ali. And immediately, he's like playing word association. Immediately, he says, the best, the greatest, my idol. And Zlatan is, loud and he celebrates himself the way Ali did. But if Ali's your idol, it's not just because he bragged a lot. It's because Ali stood up for what he believed in and stood for his people and oppression and oppressed groups everywhere, really, by the end of his career. So it is curious that Zlatan has that point of view about Muhammad Ali, had that point of view about himself in Europe, but then has this point of view about LeBron. And LeBron's response to me is pitch perfect. I don't think it could be any better. No ad hominem attack, points out a hypocrisy, says, hey, wait a minute, why is that okay for you, but not okay for me? And most importantly, reinforces the idea that he feels a responsibility to do it. Not just that whether, well, I can do it or I should just stay in my lane. No. LeBron saying, I have a responsibility given my platform. Pitch perfect, I have to say, as usual by LeBron.
No, Max, I have to disagree, and that's nonsense. Ain't nothing was pitch perfect about that response. And matter of fact, I hated the response that LeBron James gave, and here's why. He should have addressed Zlatan or whatever his name is, like the numbers on the house, and should have made him smell his cologne in that response. And by me saying that, because it's not about politics. It's not that LeBron James speaks out about politics. He's speaking out about humanity. All right, this is what we're talking about, humanity. What's going on in the black community these days? That's what LeBron James stands for. Growing up in Akron, Ohio, coming up really without a father figure in his life, knowing why the purpose why he opened up a I Promise school and wanted to provide such great people to help these kids in these black communities so they could get knowledge, so they could get up out of those communities and be something in life. Because, we go through so much that it get overlooked, okay? And what I'm not about to sit up here and stand for is no athlete or no other person, especially from another country, tell one of our powerful, iconic figures how to speak up and how to be a black man in America and be a leader in America. I'm not about to tolerate it. And LeBron should have addressed him like the numbers on the house, like I said before, because look, we deal with so much oppression for over 400 plus years. You talk about things to nature where father figures are incarcerated for whatever reason and getting football numbers where they're not there in their children's lives nowadays. And now they need powerful, iconic figures like LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, Dwayne Wade, Maya Moore, all these beautiful athletes that have been standing on the front line to make sure that these kids get the best opportunity that others are getting around the world. So I don't want to hear that, man.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus.